If it went back 100,000 plus years, why would you need to create another model for domination and control? This thing has a history longer than any white civilization ever. No white civilization in history has lasted more than 2,000 years at its apex. None. You can go to the Greeks, you can go to the Romans, French, any of them, including America. We are getting close to that. We're at the 2000, and you see how America's beginning to be on the decline. Things are going down. We're not going up anymore. Okay? So that's history. And that ebb and flow, well, the only people who actually had their act together much, much, much longer are these guys. For a couple reasons. One of which that we haven't really gotten into. But when we get to this point and you actually see what they knew and how they actually operated, I'm trying to think, was it you that I showed this book to you yesterday about Sai Baba? Where he said, think of yourself as a god. Okay, now, and I ain't bringing the book, but I will. What they actually operated in was not only a mindset, but they lived in such a way that they actually operated as gods that could come down and mingle as men, but at the end of the day, their mindset they were gods. And they were capable of doing supernatural things from where we would stand and look. To erect the pyramid, and it talks about the pyramid in this chapter, and what it means, and what the Sphinx is. They knew the circumference of the earth. They knew the distance to the sun. They built buildings in perfect relationship to these things, okay? How many of us know if someone said, okay, I'll give you $1 million for you can tell me the exact center of the earth. Is anybody in this room capable of doing that? Nope. They not only knew it, they put the pyramid in the spot, built a building there. And the building is so perfect that the base of it, one side, gives your calculation for your 365 and a quarter day today. That's where you get the ability to actually measure a year as we know it. Not even talking about what's in this building. Okay? Now, where they actually will show you what's in these buildings. Most of us think this, oh man, well that was just a place where they buried people. Oh, hold on, they got some great pictures in here.
They started burying 100,000 years later. I mean, that was hundreds of thousands of years later.
This boat was in that chamber next to the building. They had gliders. As we know them today, they actually found gliders. But to erect this building, these two stones right here, that would be called chevrons today. That's the symbol for a chevron. Chevron is a lieutenant's stripe, chevron oil. This was the entrance to the building. The magic words were open sesame. Now we hear that kind of stuff all the time in a magic show, and you have no idea, and these rocks would move. So I'm just telling you, they were operating on a whole nother level than where we're operating today. Their blood, look at the magnificence of this building on the Rio. Now, they said this building's 3,000 years old. The Sphinx is at least 13,000 years old, they know, because it's been in water. That refutes all, but think about this. This building actually had smooth sides on it before the Arabs tore all the outside casing off. That you could see this thing for miles. And all the instruction for all the laws, all the rules of nature, all the scientific data you need to know in order to live on a higher plane was on the outside of this building called the Bible in stone. Telling you all the rules that you ever needed to know. They had studied it and worked it out and wrote it down in stone. That's why it's so insulting at our African Center school to run around and tell our children that the African people actually communicated by dancing and beating on a damn drum. And the truth is, these people wrote their stuff in stone for the world to see. Yeah, this...
Well, on page 217, it said that. Did we read that already?
No. Go ahead.
Oh, I probably jumped ahead.
No, we're there.
It says, much of the first, or I'm on the bottom of the last page. Much of the first original message, no doubt, was lost, especially as all the sacred message given by God to man must have been handed down orally. Yeah, we read that already. But it says, even then, up to the time of the solar code, all writings were in cliffs or hieroglyphics only. One of the results of this message was the building of the Great Pyramid, a living book in stone, wherein, as portrayed, the ritual of ancient Egypt, the oldest sacred writings in the world, written in sign language. And that's kind of what you just said. They're covering up that now.
I was right. When I was in college, I had a huge argument. They're like, well, you know, the first written language, and I'm like, well, what is a letter? And it's like a symbol that represents something. I was like, so how come you can discount a hieroglyph, which is what it is? It's a symbol that conveys a concept. How can you say that it's right there in our faces? How come you were saying that this is not a language when and then you invented language when there's something that obviously predates it and it's sitting, and the person did choose, well, it's just because they're pictures. It's like, what do you think? What's a letter?
Like I said, I mean, if y'all haven't figured it out by now, Europeans will say anything.
Is it true that the nose of the Sphinx was taken off because it was
Absolutely.
Yes.
not?
That's true.
That's true, by
Try to
Napoleon's army.
Try to disfigure it because by the nose,
Because they had our nose, yeah.
identified that it
So
wasn't
it
black.
showed us.
Yeah.
But if you look at this thing, here's a pretty good rendering of it. Look at the cheekbones on it today.
Oh, absolutely.
With the nose missing, you still see those cheekbones look like it. Ain't no Europeans look like that.
Well, I mean, we could even argue the point. Still today, I mean, who's indigenous to the land?
Exactly.
Certainly not Europeans.
Take a look at this.
Oh, I know you.
This was some of their furniture.
Beautiful, yes.
Huh?
Just
Look
absolutely
at the quality of
Yes.
this furniture and think about how old that is.
Ethan Allen ain't got nothing on
Now
it.
pass it around.
I seen some of this stuff at the Nelson when I was a kid.
Absolutely.
In the solar myth, this horse was symbolically represented as the sun god. That is true. The pole and the equinox, blah, blah, blah. So they're changing the way we calculate things up. As the stellar pole god, he was the earliest maintainer of the equilibrium in the revolving system of the heavens. Horus as the power of the pole star, symbolically the first or the Lord of eternity.
I have a question for you that may be off the subject, or maybe we have gone through it and missed it, and it deals with some of the headdress, imagery, so forth and so on. In some depictions of Egyptians, you can see this thing coming off the top of the headdress, and there's a light, there's a bright light.
And I talking about the Horus.
And I've heard that was electricity, that the Egyptians had actually created a source of electricity.
No. That's not quite true.
Just theory.
No. Now, when you see the enlightened, I mean that has something to do, but not the Reyes is really the cobra, is what you see coming off.
Mhm.
The cobra and the vulture, and that really that's just talking about lower and upper Egypt. The uniting of the two.